I wanted to start. I know you, Emilee, because we pretty much were in Mac Fitness. This is how I kind of know you. Mac Fitness in 2021, I think it was, or around then.
What? Yeah.
Yeah, like it's a while ago.
Way back in the day.
Maybe even before then. And like my first question was just, obviously you're into fitness, right?
Yes.
But if you had to explain to people, who you are as, hey, I'm Emilee Clark. This is who I am, or how you got into fitness. How would you describe that?
Oh, that's always such a tricky question. Honestly, it came from because I got diagnosed with PCOS, ENDO, and IBS when I was 16. So fitness for me came from struggling through pain and having no one be able to help me with that. And like they wanted to just dose me up on drugs, give me all the tablets, give me all the pills. And I didn't want to do that because I just didn't want to put more into my body when I already didn't know what was happening to my body. When it didn't it came to a point where it didn't want to accept food, but then it didn't want to get rid of it. So I got so sick and I was just like, all right, there has to be something more that I can do. So then I just went like full natural route. I literally did like a juice cleanse for 3 months, got down to, I think it was 31 kilos and I was 24 years old. So I got completely anorexic.
Yep.
Don't recommend, but I needed to just completely flush my body. And then from there, I felt like then I started from scratch. So then I spent a year being vegan. I then spent another year just trying to test foods as what my body could tolerate. Then I got myself into the gym because I was like, all right, at least then if I'm like trying to eat well and then I'm moving my body, maybe it'll kick into some kind of gear of just like completely resetting itself. And then for me, that's where then I found the love for the gym because I needed that mental break. I needed something to kind of concentrate on that wasn't always about my body being in pain and how like against it felt, like how against it was for me. Like I felt like I was continually fighting against my body. Whereas when I kind of got it into the gym, I was like, all right, we're working together to try do something. And then mentally that just completely changed my whole outlook on life. Because obviously when I was in such chronic pain all the time, and I recently did a post on my Instagram about this in Are You Okay Day, I got so low. Like I was just like, what is the point? Like my body's in pain, it won't eat, it won't get rid of it, I can't sleep, like I could barely function. So I was just like, nope, like I'm done. And I got to a point where I was like, I'm actually done. And then that's where I just thought, oh, it gets me teary talking about it. But that's where I just thought, I was like, no, I was like, one last ditch effort. Like, let's just try something. And then that's where now, when you talk to me about my fitness journey or anyone asks me like what gym or fitness means to me, it's so much more than just working out because I literally pulled myself out of absolute depression and wanting to like commit suicide from it. And like it just means everything to me.
So positioning here, so it was around 25, 26 years old when you got yourself into the gym.
Yeah.
Were you doing any sports or any type of fitness or movement before then?
I'd always been super active at school.
Okay.
So I'd always done like competitive cross country. I was in competitive tennis team, hockey team, soccer, did all of the sports. So yeah, to me, like my body was naturally kind of always athletic and mum and dad pushed us to do sports and be competitive. That probably dropped off once I kind of left school and then discovered partying and alcohol and as you do, just kind of,
as you grow into it.
As you grow into it, yeah, it seems more fun to kind of go out partying and drinking alcohol every weekend than it does to play sport on a Saturday.
Look, at some point, from just a mere more human perspective, you kind of have to go through the different phases and explore what that means as well.
For sure.
But what I think I want to try to understand for people, so for me, I went through from a gym perspective in a very different route. It wasn't out of I was sick or I wasn't. It was a last ditch effort. It was more so a friendship. It was connecting with people, and then it grew through a love of mine, and now it's as much as it is physical as it is mental.
Yeah.
But now the position, so you did do some sort of training beforehand, but it wasn't until, after going through that quite big phase of, going vegan, going through big phase of trying to understand your body. When you hear just the words, IBS or PCOS, I've heard from people about that. My partner had PCOS, I believe, for a while back, actually kind of cleared from that. To give an example to someone though, when you were, let's say 21 years old and what you were experiencing, because to say the words might mean something to someone like me. I go, okay, I can kind of understand it and understand some of the science.
Yeah.
What did that actually look like on a day to day? Like why was it that it felt so down? So we can then contrast to how much better it was from a mental and physical perspective to be doing something in the cadence of gym.
Yeah, right. It honestly, if I could sum it up, it just feels like your stomach hates you. Your whole reproductive system is out to get you and it wants to put you in the worst pain you could ever imagine. And that, for me, I dealt with for years. And I just had to mentally develop a toughness to be able to figure out how to deal with that daily without then, you know, not being able to go to work or not being able to socialize. Or I hid it from my friends for years because I didn't want to be like, oh, I can't come, like I feel too shit, or oh, my tummy's too sore. And it's just like, you know, then people would stop inviting me places. So, and at that point that was everything, because you always had to go everywhere with your friends. And it wasn't really wildly open to talk about back then, being in chronic pain or having to deal with stuff. So I just hid it. And yeah, for me, it feels like your body is just completely against you, and it wants to put you in the most amount of pain possible. And no matter what you do, nothing helps. And all you can do is lay on the ground in a puddle of tears, bent over, and like just huddled up in a little ball. And even then it doesn't fix it. And then you go to the doctors and they're like, oh, well, we don't know. It's just a bad period. You know? Like they can't do anything.
And let's position it as well. It's not that it's all gone away and it's all absolutely fine now. You still, to this day,
I still to this day deal with it. But I have found through fitness and food and a strict macro track diet, and I meal prep everything, and I have my safe restaurants that I can go to, and as long as I stay active and I keep my gym schedule, I've learned to manage it. But in saying that, I still have days where it flares up and it knocks the shit out of me, and I cannot move, and I'm at home screaming in bed because it feels like my insides are being stabbed. And that's literally the pain level that it feels like. And until you know what that feels like, it's very hard to explain to people. When I be like, oh, I've got an endo flare up, and they're like, oh, feel better soon. I'm like, you have no idea. Yeah. And
and I think I want to be doing more in conversations like this, in others. What I've always found is that there's a lot of assumptions that get made, just absolute bias assumptions, right? And I think when you hear from females, especially when they're dealing through this, or other people, so, you know, we'll talk about some mental health and, you know, with your label and a few different things, it can be so easy to just think of, oh, well, it's this and it's a label and whatever. But because you don't have that understanding.
Well, even doctors say that, oh, it's just a bad period. Just take some Panadol, you'll be right. It'll pass. Just have a bit of rest, put a heat pack on it, have some water, stay hydrated.
It'll be all fine.
It'll be fine.
The example that I've gone through, obviously, recently with my partner is going through delivery, right? Delivery of a baby.
Yeah.
And for me, it was the understanding of, oh, this is the level of intensity of what I expected, but an assumption, versus what it was out of control, different. Now, this is what I can imagine it being the same thing. When someone says, no, it's, hey, I've got endo pain, I've got this, we're not realizing how difficult that actually can be for an individual in terms of not going to work, not being able to do something in a day.
Yeah.
But then for you, as you're sort of calling out, fitness was, which I guess for you is going to the gym.
Yeah.
It was, in what perspective was it beneficial to, I guess, the pains that you were feeling? Was it 50-50 physical, mental? Was it all 100% mental and some of it physical? So, you know, to give you an idea, if you were currently training, just playing a sport, soccer, versus going to the gym, would it be the same sort of benefit for you? Or it's just you found the modality of gym, of that sort of fitness spectrum, that's what really, really helps me out?
I think it was specifically gym, because for me, like say sport soccer, right? That's cardio, just cardio, right? Whereas when I'm at the gym, if I'm in a flare-up or I'm in a really bad, painful phase, I'm focusing now on the weights that I'm lifting. I'm focusing on the movements that I'm doing. And sometimes I'll go harder and heavier than I have, just to almost snap myself out of thinking about my tummy pain. And now I'm thinking about how much my legs are burning while I'm doing the squat, or how sore hip thrusts are on my bum. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's getting your mind into focusing on something else. And I think for me, because gym is such a safe place and an escape where I know I'm always going to feel better afterwards no matter what, I think I mentally now associate that with feeling better. So even if I've gone in there and I'm in miles amount of pain, and sometimes I'll go in there and I've got like my little TENS machine on my stomach underneath my big shirt, and like I'm in worlds of pain, but I'm like, at least I'm here. At least I'm there doing something about it, rather than laying in bed crippled over with a wheat pack in my TENS machine, just hoping it'll go away. And that's the mental thing I think that's kind of changed for me, is as long as I feel like I'm doing something about it, it's got to get better. Whether that's just sheer dumb thinking, or whether it actually works, or it's a placebo of my mind then convincing myself that it does work, I don't know. But I just genuinely, it helps. Yep. And at that point, I'm like, whatever helps. Like, if I had to stand on my head for 10 seconds, I'd do it. Like, I'm in so much pain and I need to get out of it. So I feel like my body and my mind go into survival mode and just be like, all right, what needs to be done?
Now, in speaking with, I want to ask you, the direct question is, have you found now, you're speaking about it, do a lot of other people, either at the gym or outside of friends, talk to you to kind of get that support, because maybe they don't feel like they're comfortable talking about all of this pain and the reality of what they can do and can't do. Maybe they still don't feel like they have a friendship group of people who understand it, and maybe get ostracized because, hey, you got endo, yeah, you're not coming along, and so you don't kind of go into the groups or the social norms of what people are doing. So that's a direct question.
Yeah.
But I want to could have also ask a side question is, I went back to very much the first post you ever did on Instagram.
Yep.
Not too hard, actually. You don't have that many posts.
Yep.
But even the first one, I believe it was in 2018, the description was very direct, was very open. It was very real. It was, hey, I didn't feel that great about this particular post, but I posted it anyways.
Yep.
So I feel like you've always been open to kind of conversing to the realness of it.
100%.
Have you found that, so from the direct question, are you finding a lot of people who talk to you about that and you try to support them now? Does that come naturally? Are you reaching out to people to do that? And then 2, has that always been the case? Have you always been a pretty open and honest person to talk about the issues, the problems and everything that, and if not, what has helped you sort of move towards that space?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I find it's an odd one. There's definitely there's a community of people that definitely go through it. Mm-hmm. And like I've joined those communities, or I've joined those Instagram chats or pages or the support girl groups and things like that. So there's a space for it. But I find if you're not in that space, or if you don't want to be, it's not naturally talked about, and it's nothing to do with anyone that I know or my friends or anything not being good people or not being good friends and checking up. But I think it's because they genuinely cannot fathom what it is that I'm going through and what it is to have endo or PCOS and be in that level of pain. That, you know, they'll be like, oh, hope you're feeling better. Like if I do a post and I'm just like, oh, in pain today or whatever, it's just like, oh no, girl, hope you're feeling better, feel better soon. And like, that's sweet and it's a reach out. But there's kind of almost, I think I put it on myself, there's no point trying to explain it to people because they really just can't fathom what it is. So unless you kind of took the time to say to me, hey, what does this feel like and what are you going through? I genuinely don't talk about it. Like I'll post about it just to be like, hey, this is real me. This is my tummy bloated. I'm at the gym with my TENS machine on, feeling and looking like shit. Like it is what it is, because I'm naturally happy to share that, because I find people don't. Because also we as women, oh, you can't be at the gym with a bloated stomach and a crop top on. Do you know what I mean? Like you should feel bad about yourself. Like, so I kind of genuinely wanted to break that stigma about it anyway, because it's like, well, I actually can't control this. My body is literally choosing to be like this today. And why should I hide that? You know, why should I be embarrassed about that or scared about it? Like I've got shit to do. I've got to go to work. I'm going to take my heat pack to work. I'm going to wear baggy clothes to work. Like I've still got to function today. I still need to get my workout in. Like it is what it is. And I think that's for me, I developed that kind of mental toughness to have that lookout on it. Because
always, as in, and so that mental aspect, okay,
that's grown. I've had to develop that because I have felt in the past very ostracized about having such pain. I felt like for a long time, I stopped going out to dinners with people, even my family, which that was tough, but because everybody always wanted to go to places that I couldn't eat at. And that, like, because I've developed severe food allergies from having all of these issues, I have a long list of things that I can't eat. And when I go to a restaurant, I'm the chef's worst nightmare because they can't cater to me. Absolutely. Or they don't want to. Or the waitress gets snooty that I've got to ask her 10,000 questions about the burger that I'm trying to order. And then to me, that puts me in a real mental hole because I'm just like, oh my God, like, I didn't think it was going to be so difficult to just ask to have no cheese on a burger. But then the waitress rolling her eyes at me makes me feel like I'm the problem. And that happened to me actually just on the Gold Coast last weekend.
I was going to say recently.
Yeah, recently. And I thought I was so over this. And I thought I had, because my instant knee-jerk reaction is I get upset. And I've tried to move past that, but years and years of like beat downs of trying to eat out and trying to be social and going to places with family and friends and just, you know, sucking it up, and I'll take my meal prep and I'll take my dinner and I'll just eat my food so I can still be involved with everybody else. I think that has worn me down so hard that now, because I haven't had to deal with it for quite a while, which is great because I have a very supportive fiance and he eats clean and eats the same food I can eat, and it's great, and I haven't faced that for a while. And then last weekend we went to the Gold Coast for a meal out, and everything had dairy in it, and everything was pre-done, and all the burger buns were already buttered. And I was just like, what do you mean? Like, can I just have one that isn't buttered? Like, my logic is so simple. Like, surely you just have some bread that doesn't have butter on it. But then just the reaction is just like, oh, no, we don't do that, sorry.
Well, so, which I was going to say, we're in 2023.
Like,
That
food allergies are a thing in 2023, so that surprises me.
As much as they've been, for many, many years, right?
Yeah.
For a long time. But I guess, probably some of the positioning when you were talking about in 2015, 2013, it was much harder. Like, I know...
For sure.
It was where, whether you were trying to be vegan or gluten-free or dairy intolerant, it was harder then. It's become...
more
easier
normalized, and now a lot as well, it's a choice.
Hmm.
Like a lot of people just choose to be vegan or choose to not have milk or choose to just don't like nuts, like whatever it is. Whereas I found, back then when I was navigating all of this terrain, when I was like, in my early 20s, it was a lot harder because, people didn't really have a lot of choices or decide to go completely gluten or dairy free.
Yeah. So maybe a little bit of a transitory piece here, but then we've got obviously the issues. Let's just take the dairy aspect of it, right? So if you went to this, went to the Gold Coast a few weeks ago, let's say, and there was obviously that problem with dairy. Now there's two parts. There's you kind of ostracize yourself or you separate yourself because you don't want to go down the path of eating this because it's going to make you feel like shit.
For sure.
But then there's the other aspect of, hey, if you don't engage, if you don't socialize, let's say if you're friends, all of a sudden, from a mental health perspective, you start pushing yourself away and you isolate yourself. You make yourself lonely. Hey, I'm not going to come out unless I bring my meal. No one invites you. Now, that's a very fine balance, right, in terms of the pain that can go on both hands. When someone comes to you with that potential issue, because a lot of people would be dealing with that now and quite open and honest with it, do you put a bit of a line in the sand and go, no, I know if you were to go to somewhere with, say, a friends group or somewhere that where there's an invite, but there's only going to be that selection and it's going to put you into really physical pain bit from it. How do you try and deal with that between the balance of making yourself that slow loneliness or social separation versus knowing that you're going to go into physical pain?
So it's an interesting one because for me, it's not just the physical pain, it's that I'm sick for days. Like if I have a little bit of milk, it's not just like, oh, I'll just feel kind of rubbish, but then I'll get over it. Like I'm 3 to 5 days of feeling like absolute crap.
Yeah.
So I've kind of, probably within the last maybe say 6 months to a year, I've gotten very brutal, and this is for myself and my own peace and my own mental health. I've gotten very brutal at, if you as a friend or a family member don't understand what I need for food and my requirements to be able to go out to dinner and have a good time and feel included and all of that, I'm not coming. Because I have spent too many dinners and too many times out with friends and family where I've gone to the bathroom and just cried because I literally cannot eat anything on the menu, and some waiter's been like, oh, just have the salad, or here's a glass of water and some fries, and I'm just like, are you kidding me? Yeah. So, or I've been stared at for bringing my meal prep and the kitchen won't heat it up because it's foreign food in their microwave, which whatever, they can do what they want. But so I have kind of, I've been very ruthless within the last year of I just will not include myself. And I would rather be at home in my own peace and in my own place and feel better and know that I'm mentally not going to be putting myself into a situation where I can be upset or I can, I might be triggered and then I break down and I don't do it anymore. And luckily I've got a good group of friends now and my fiance and like I said, and family who do understand it better, and we will choose to go to places that I can eat so then I can enjoy it. But if there are places that I can't, then I just don't go. Or everyone knows I'm going to bring my meal prep now, and that's not a problem. I don't get stared at weirdly or be like, oh, Em, what are you doing? Yeah.
And I think it's a big learning point. Sometimes it can be, because it isn't as openly discussed often. And, and the reason I want to bring in the mental health aspect is it's similar. It's the same thing there where people can be put into positions where you don't want it. You don't want to either perform, have that action, be in that environment, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
But the pressures of a normal world of what a normal person should do, because you're not following them, all of a sudden is, you kind of have to, you get pushed into doing it unless you've got a really strong why, a really strong reason as to why. For you, it's now both developed, but there's a real punishment to your body if you go down that path. And you've kind of recognized.
And for what? To be around people that don't understand it, to pretend like I'm having a good time, to then feel like shit for a week afterwards. What's that worth? That's the thing. Like, all right, then I'm around the wrong group of people. If I need to do that to myself to be able to be social, what is that?
Yeah, and it's what's worth with, which is, a learning point there. It's recognizing that there's social circles, there's the ecosystem that you participate in.
Yeah.
It's got to support your
100%.
choices. Doesn't have to be all the time,
Yeah.
right? Like I'm in friendship groups where things are not supported as much. Currently, we do the podcast with, he's a little bit off center from our normal friendship group, but we understand, like you understand pretty much holistically how the person performs and why they might want something and not.
Yeah.
I think it's also the importance, as you're calling out, if you're around with people who are not supporting, you knowing the pain that you might be going through, and this is not generalizing it, like, 'cause it might be mental health, it might be just physical health, whatever. You need to move, you need to change, you need to shift that, and you have to be very open with it as well.
Yeah, 100%.
Have you, and I'm assuming you've gone through, obviously you talked about family, have you had the same experience with friends where you've had to kind of let go of friendships because they weren't maybe understanding some of those problems quite realistically with what you were dealing with?
100%. So I found, I think for the last couple of years, I've almost just kind of like lone wolfed it for a while because I couldn't find people who understood my intensity around food, my intensity around training, and why it means so much to me. And like, I don't need to have deep and meaningfuls every time I meet someone. Like, I'm not trying to be like, oh, here's my whole life story and this kind of stuff. But I found out that I needed at least a base understanding and respect of me as a person and like what I've been through or what I go through on the daily, and as to why I am so committed to, eating clean and doing my, macro tracked meal prep and going to the gym and staying in routine. Because people just weren't understanding it. They're like, oh, don't go to the gym. Let's just go out and grab a drink. And I'm like, well, I don't like drinking because that flares up my stomach. And it's just like, okay, whatever, you're boring.
Yep.
And it's just like, cool, if that's how you're going to take that, then we're just not going to be friends.
Yeah.
And I kind of like, I've only recently, probably like literally within like the last 3 to 4 months, discovered a friend group who does respect, and they're all gym people and gym girlies and everything like that, because we all have that in common. And they're probably the only people I've met in the last, like, say 5 or 6 years that I've moved to Brisbane who actually genuinely understand me and respect me and still love me for it. And I'm not a pain and I don't feel like a burden. So before that, I was just like, nah, everyone can just cut out. I don't care. I'd rather just be alone. I'd rather just have me and my fiance and we can just have our own little life and with his family and just be done with it.
Yep.
I'd rather be at home doing the dishes or watching TV than pretending to be out with people that I genuinely can't talk to anything about and who don't understand me.
Well, that might be an unpopular opinion, but I kind of agree with it. I would rather be with on your. It doesn't have to be that you're lonely. You can be alone.
Yeah.
But not having to pretend or push towards being in this social situations or putting yourself in a position where, you're following the Joneses or doing whatever, but you're in pain and you're suffering because of it.
Or
I'd rather be alone.
I'm mentally drained. Like, it is so exhausting for me to pretend that I don't feel a certain way or know that it's not crippling me that I'm in a restaurant that I know I can't eat anything at and I'm about to try pretend like, oh, I'm not hungry, or like, oh yeah, I'll just have fries for dinner. Like, like I'm not starving and I don't want like more food or anything like that. And I did that so many times to then where it's so mentally triggering for me now to put myself in that situation. So I choose not to. And I find people that don't ask that of me. And like, how, why not? Why can't I do that? Why can't I choose things that make me happier and don't mentally trigger me? And if that means I've got to be by myself, so be it. Yeah.
And look, honestly, I think a lot of people who will listen to this, some of them will go, but you don't understand this. I get into the social situation and, I've got my friendship group. I don't want to let them go. I would actually say, you're not thinking about it very specifically or acutely about, yes, but how much pain or suffering are you putting yourself through when you're not with them because you're doing certain things. This could apply to going out and having a big drink session and then you don't do things the next day or whatever.
Yeah.
It's really assessing what does actually your life look like continuously in that suffering versus not doing that and being alone or having a different group.
And also for me to put myself, because I've obviously got goals and I'm a very driven person, so to put myself in a situation then where I'm mentally exhausting myself, I might have to eat a dinner that is literally just fries. Then I'm going to feel like absolute shit the next day because I haven't, hit my calories and my macros for the day and I haven't had a good nutritious dinner. Then when I get up, I'm not going to be able to go to the gym. I'm probably going to feel like shit all day because I haven't eaten enough food and I'm now mentally drained from just being around people that don't care. Now for me to lose a whole day of feeling good and being able to do what I would normally do in my routine and my schedule,
not worth it.
That's not worth it for me. And if you're around people that are making you feel like that and you've just, oh, I went out but now I'm just going to lay in bed because I feel like shit all day, Like,
Not worth
why?
it. Yeah.
Why? That's not, I've got too much to do. I'm busy. Like, I've got my business to do. I've got to go to the gym. I'm trying to get gains. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I want to keep eating healthy and eating clean, and that's fueling my sessions. And I've got housework to do and chores to do. Like, I'm too busy.
Yeah. No,
I genuinely don't have the time to waste a day or an hour on something that I don't want to do anymore.
Yeah.
And I know that now.
And we're talking about like phases of your life. Look, sure, you also sometimes have to experience some of those things to know also what the offset and what you're missing out of. I had a similar thing not too long ago where it was an invite to go for a couple of drinks. It was at a particular time of the day. And this now, right, as with a young family.
Yeah.
And my initial feelings, oh, cool, I'll go and do this. And then I kind of realized, you know, what's the benefit of actually doing that, of the engagement I'm going to be doing there versus what it's taken away from being with family, going and train the next day, doing all these other things.
Yeah.
Oh, you go, wait a minute, you really have to, when you're saying yes to a lot of things, you're also saying no to a lot of things as well. And you got to realize, what does that actually mean? But you mentioned goals, you mentioned business. So I want to talk about a new chapter, which is a new chapter of the label, right?
Yes.
Now, this was a big piece I wanted to talk to you about because I've known a lot of people now who've done apparel. A lot of people. We've done apparel in the Me and Mortals in a very rudimentary version. So I'll give you a quick one. 3 years ago, we created like these 2 polo shirts basically for me and Karen. Afterwards, we created 2 shirts. This was fun. This is just us. Let's do it. Then we did a 3rd round of shirts, which was we got about 30 or 40 shirts, different sizes. And we essentially gave them away in our podcast as people support us through funds. We kind of give them back a free shirt when they reach a certain threshold. Yeah. We got into that. And I've been getting more and more into, at least for me, apparel, threads, where they're made, the material, the quality, etc. Yeah. For you, new chapter of the label, what made you want to get into that space? Yeah. You know, what was the reason around it? I know there's aspects right from a mental health aspect of it, but lay the layout. You know, if you're going to tell someone quite quickly what it is and why, how would you try and share that across?
Honestly, I always wanted, like I said, I'm a very driven person and I'm a very hardworking person. And I realized if I could apply the same level of energy and effort that I do to working for other people to myself, why couldn't I make something successful? Because I work so hard for everybody else, I should be doing it for myself. And then from that, I was like, all right, I've always wanted to do something within the clothing brand space. I've just always wanted to do it. And then I was just like, all right, well, what do I love doing? And I was like, going to the gym. And what do I wear when I go to the gym? Baggy t-shirts. I'm like, all right, do I have many cute ones? No. Are there many that I like to wear? No. So I was like, all right, why don't I create them? And then light bulb moment. And I was like, all right, now that I've got something to focus on as well, because I needed something for myself. How do I word it? Like, I was so craving doing something that felt like it was bettering me, but I didn't know what. And I was in a mental health rut and I didn't know how to get out of it, but I know I needed something to focus on to like pull myself out of it. I felt like all I was doing was work, gym, home, dinner, sleep, bed. Nothing else was going on to excite me. I didn't feel great about anything. So I was like, all right, why don't I just do it? Why don't I stop talking myself out of it and stop, you know, working so hard for other people and supporting everyone else's dreams? And why don't I just do my own one?
What was the actual trigger or the first step that you took to getting New Chapter going?
Probably just telling myself I could do it. I'm going to say years. For so many years, I talked myself out of that I couldn't do it because why would people care about my brand? Why would people care to buy from me? Why would people care to buy a pump cover? Like, why would they give a shit? And that's where I was just like, or what if they did? Like, why not me? Why couldn't it be successful?
Here's an interesting question as well. Has anyone up to this day right now told you in a negative way, hey, no one needs this?
100%.
Right, okay.
Oh, it's an overpopulated market. Everyone sells clothing. Okay. Everyone sells t-shirt. Not another chick off Instagram trying to make a clothing brand. And like, don't buy it then. Like, I don't care. So,
and then to people like that, which is, I thought it was going to be the opposite way. I thought it was going to be like, no one's told me, and it'd be like, okay, it'll be a different track.
Heaps.
So how do you, because obviously you're now we just talked about a lot of things. You've learned to be very much around those like, yes, cool, but this is what I want to do, and I'm doing it for a particular reason. And once you've got a reason, it becomes very easy and straightforward to then 100%. Proceed with it. does it just slide off you when you see comments like that in a negative way? And this might be, personally with things you post through what you're creating in terms of new chapter label. Is it just an easy thing that slide off, or do you sometimes lay up at night and be like, oh man, that really hit me. That really hurt me that I saw that particular message?
It doesn't get easy. Like, I will never understand people's care or point to share a negative thought, because I personally would never. I'm not that kind of person. I'm like, if you see something you don't like, just let it go. Doesn't matter. Like, what good will come from you telling that person something that you disagree with? So for me, obviously, yes, I'll take it personally sometimes, but I'm also like, okay, but I'm out here doing something, trying to better myself, trying to make a business to help people and their mental health and support them in the gym. And, and that grew from supporting myself and my own mental health. So I'm just like, why would I care what someone else thinks when I'm actually out there trying to do it? Like, if you're trying to tear me down, what are you doing though? Do you have a business? Are you trying to start something? Like, what? Like, for what?
Well, and we talked about an incident that you had this year around someone sort of insulting you when you were essentially just taking pictures outside a place where you could have been.
Yeah.
And it is very different when you start realizing that a lot of times when negative feedback is coming your way, it's generally not that often that it is what you are doing. It is essentially something that they are essentially exposing of themselves out towards the world, and you just the one getting hit with it. Here at the Mere Models Podcast, we get it all the time. Yeah. We get it all the time with different things. Yeah. And you kind of have to roll with it and go, well, that's just the price you pay to be in the arena sometimes, right? If you want to be a spectator and never get anything, awesome. But if you're going to be in the arena doing something, you're also going to have to expect you're going to get some of the negative 100%. As well as the positive.
Yeah, for sure.
But then for you, so apparel-wise, what was the, tactically, operationally, what was the first thing you did to kind of get started? You went, okay, cool, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do this. Did you have friends who were doing it? Did you know who to reach out to? I'm assuming you're like a local based sort of supplier. How did that come about? Like actually doing it for the business?
Honestly, I just kind of decided one day that I'm like, cool, if I register the business name, then I've got to do it.
Okay.
That was my first step. I was just like, do that. And then you've already paid a bunch of money, like $400 or whatever it is to, do that. I'm just like, right, we're in deep now. Like, we've invested money into this. So then I just kind of went on to Google because I wanted to do like Australian manufacturers. I wanted to keep it local. I wanted to keep it high quality. That was one of my big things. I found a printing place up in Burleigh, found a stockist or manufacturer. AS Colour t-shirts is what I went with just because I loved the high quality of them and everything. And then literally just kind of went from there. Had the idea, thought of the brand name, which that was probably the hardest. Trying to think of something that meant a lot to me that would translate to other people as well, that would mean things to them, that also didn't sound like too much.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
So it could still translate as a brand, but then also as the meaning.
And so did you have other names as well that were like finalists and in the end you went with New Chapter? Or what was it like? What would be the meaning if you had to explain that of a New Chapter to yourself or to others who have even maybe told you about it?
Honestly, I remember just sitting on the couch one day and I was just like, all right, what am I trying to do? And then I was trying to create names and a bunch of them already existed. And I was like, this is the best idea. And then I was like, no, it's already a brand. And then I also wanted to find something that could be unisex so that it wasn't just, oh, that's a girl's brand or that's a guy's brand, or, And then I was just like, okay, but what am I about to try do in my life? And I'm just like, wait, I'm starting like this new chapter. And I was just like, hold the phone.
When it just comes,
is that the name? And then it literally just went that easy.
Yep.
So then I was just like, oh, that brand name's not taken. The Instagram page isn't taken. The TikTok isn't taken. I was like, if that's a sign. So, and then I just kind of went with that. And that for me is where the whole brand and the meaning was kind of born, because I was like, all right, it's a new chapter for starting my brand label. It's a new chapter for me into finally pulling myself out of this, like, no, you can't do it hole, and actually doing it. And I was like, there is bound to be a lot of people who are in the same position that I am, mentally, physically, whatever, who just want to start fresh. And that's also what about going to the gym is.
Yep.
You're starting something, you're doing something for yourself, whether you've been there for years or you've just gone through a breakup and you want to get your body back, or you're starting like, your health journey. You're starting a new chapter.
Yeah, no, I mean, the naming, that where it just comes to, it's I reckon that would be, at least for founders of business or anything like that, for owners, 80% of people, I reckon, names coming around that way. Same thing for the podcast.
Yeah.
Was doing names and just mere mortals came of. I think I was reading something and I was like, oh, what about something like this?
Mere mortals.
Yeah, exactly. So, and then there is meaning behind that, but obviously you have that with New Chapter, the label.
Yeah.
You're up to the second series. Is that what you're calling it? Is that the second series or second volume for
Well,
the
that's
New
the
Chapter?
other thing as well with New Chapter. I was just like, ooh, I could like play on it, you know?
Yeah.
Like it's like books and it's chapters and it's series and it's this and it's that. So that was kind of something I wanted to as well because like bigger picture, I wanted to be able to really brand it out.
Yeah, well, and this I want to ask you about this from a marketing perspective because if folks haven't been to it right now, if you go to New Chapter, the website, it is really very straightforward. As in, you go in right now, you land, and here is like the first series that's available.
Yeah,
go get it. There's no like auxiliary things. There's no like fuzzing around with anything. This is what we are. Here's a shirt.
Well, and to be fair, that came about because I literally only released 3 shirts for the first drop. So I'm like, how busy could the website be when you've only got 3 products?
True.
To be fair.
Yeah. No, that's fair. But then when you see it, some really large players, Do You Even? I was trying to think of the other name. I'll go with Do You Even. So with Eddie's, his one, it's large, but it's still pretty straightforward when you go into his website or the way of what you are getting.
Yeah.
That sort of brand.
It is what it
Again,
is.
It is what it is. Exactly.
Again,
I like that.
I'm not trying to complicate it. Like you're wearing a t-shirt that says New Chapter, the label. You're supporting a brand. You're supporting yourself. You're starting your new chapter. That is what it is. I wasn't trying to make it massive and flashy and, you know, all this fluff around it. It was literally just, hey, if you want to support this brand and you're going through something too, that's it.
That's what it's there for.
That's what it's there for. And that was my whole purpose.
Now, on that first drop, if you could share quantities, was there a point when you essentially ordered maybe whatever it was in terms of the stock that you went, oh my God, I've got to actually now like sell these, and you've invested yourself into them? Was there that point? Can you remember that sort of point when you ordered them all and you had them sitting there in boxes being like, oh man, I've got to actually sell these?
Yeah.
To the point where you went, oh my God, I've now like either sold one or a few, or you've gotten some feedback and you go, oh man, this was all worth it.
So it was interesting because when I first started the brand and the idea of it, my marketing was all based around streetwear. I was like, I'm going to do it as like a streetwear brand because that way anybody could wear it, anyone can pick it up. And I'm like, if I cast a really wide net, anyone can use it for anything.
Yep.
And then I was finding that wasn't really working because it wasn't true to why I really started the brand and what I would wear it for. So then what happened was I shifted it into then the gym. And I started filming. I gave some shirts to some people, to some big gym bros, and I started filming them in it. And then that gained natural traction through the videos and the reels that I was posting on Instagram and the pictures. And then people then started to recognize it as a gym brand. And then from there, that grew so quick, so much quicker than I could think of. And it was just because it was the natural pickup of the way that the brand was meant for.
Yeah.
But I tried to market it differently. I tried to be like, no, I'll market it to everybody. Everyone can relate. And it wasn't. I should have just stuck to my guns and be like, no, it's going to be just gym. And like, you can wear it outside of the gym because they're great t-shirts, whatever. But since it's been organically picked up by the gym community, it has gone so much quicker and better than what I could have thought it would have been.
Did you, so then when that moment happened, when you went, whoa, hold on a moment, this is organically growing in the right direction, maybe the direction it should have been.
Yeah.
Did you at that point double down and go, okay, now I'm going to add on extra marketing for that specific niche? Or have you just driven and ridden okay, it's growing organically, maybe through the video creation and creating more reels? That's what I'm going to double down on. Like where did you double down to support that if you did?
Honestly, it was more just like, all right, now that it's within the gym community, all of my marketing videos and pictures are within the gym community. Because if that's where it's being picked up, why don't I capitalize on that? So then why doesn't all my content stay inside the gym, inside of working out? Like, there's no point me taking a picture of the shirt in front of a pretty building because we've got a gym community now. Do you know what I mean? People are buying it because that dude's working really hard on his sets and he's wearing that t-shirt and the vibe of the brand. Like, you can feel it through the reels that I create. So why not do that? It's raw, like it's honest. It's like, that's where people, like the guys that I film, they're working through some shit while they're working out and they're wearing my t-shirts. And it's just like, I personally as a customer love to see that about brands, is like the realness and the naturalness of it. And it's not marketing. It's just me filming a bunch of dudes, lifting a bunch of weights, and they're getting their workouts done.
Yep.
Like, what's more honest than that? And that's what I'm trying to sell to as well. not trying to be like, oh, you've got to look this way in the gym, or, you know, you can't wear this if you're not that. It's just like, just wear it however you want. Do your workout, like, you know.
Yeah, and it's an interesting concept. So one of the things, and you might not be aware, so for us in the Mere Mortals, the way that we get profits and money coming through of revenue is a system called value for value. So essentially people who are listening to us, especially through particular platforms, can send us value. And that's through like direct payments, and it's payments in cryptocurrency. We don't say to everyone to do that because it's a very new thing, but that's what we sort of asked towards. We moved away from no advertising, no nothing. But the thing that you're talking through right now, like that example, I don't see that as advertising, because you are just truly talking through, here's the reason why I'm putting this together. And when you put together, like the videos, I've seen them, you don't think, oh, I'm getting an advertising. You're seeing, hey, this is the story, this is the reason why I'm putting this out. And people assimilate to that and go, that's what I want to gravitate to. Not just because I'm getting some X brand that, you know, you're selling me in. It's not selling it. It's, I want to be part of that story. I want to be part of that chapter, right?
And I don't even feel like I'm marketing it. I just feel like I'm posting content. And if people, which I hope they do, relate to it, that's why they want to be part of the brand. Like it's something to be a part of. Like it's like a community that I'm trying to build of people. It's not like, oh, just buy my brand because the t-shirt's kind of cool. It's like, buy the brand because you want to be a part of the community. Because you see 5 or 6 people in the gym wearing this t-shirt now, and they're all working on themselves and their new chapters and their mental health, and they're at the gym going through it. Like, that's what I wanted to create.
For you as, I'll call you a businesswoman now, right? How are you connecting? Are you connecting with other individuals who are either running apparel companies, businesses and the likes to... You know, you'll be having your own challenges and lessons that you're going through.
For sure.
Are you actively trying to connect to other business owners in similar spaces to learn? How would you, and again, I'm calling this out, if there was someone out there, right, who was starting on their own space, obviously it might be in their own niche. Are you having to do that to reach out to try and find support on how to grow the business or do different things? Are you finding it's enough for you to learn as you go along?
Yeah, definitely. So I'm finding like through... I guess before starting the brand, I was trying to build my own platform on Instagram through doing like UGC and content creation. So I found actually that through working with brands, I had made connections and relationships with these brands, whether they were apparel or makeup or beauty brands or whatever, that then I could kind of lean on some of those business owners, and they're all girls as well, which was quite cool for me. And I could kind of, or I have been, asking them questions about what they've done. So whether it be, how did you set up your Shopify? Or how do you apply this discount code? Or, you know, just whether it be something super simple or something really big, I find having that kind of supportive community as well is really great. And then other than that, like I listen to podcasts, watch YouTube videos of how people are doing things, because you just want to always learn. Because I don't know how to do it. I'm just like, oh, cool, I'll just start a brand and I hope it goes really well.
Look, and newsflash for most people, no one really does at the beginning, right? No one really does. Podcasting, when we very first did it, man, there were so many difficult things. We now do some stuff in beyond just a normal podcast in some areas. We're probably one of a few thousand people in the world who don't even know how to do that, right? Yeah. But you need, that's reps, that's years of time. Yeah. For people who listen sometimes go, holy hell, Emilee seems to have it all together. You know, we talked about the challenges.
Trust me, I do not.
There's always challenges. What's the biggest challenge right now in the label? Like, what's the piece that still kind of goes, man, this is still really difficult?
The things that I didn't think about is like the payments to Shopify. Like, that's constant whether you're making sales or not. So while your stock sits in your room and doesn't sell, you're still paying all of your bills, just like you pay your rent or your mortgage every week. So on those weeks where I have quiet weeks, I'm just like, like I'm losing money, you know, and that's really tough. And then trying to pick yourself up each week to then be like, okay, what can I do to try and push sales and, you know, drive the brand, because at the end of the day it needs to make a profit so that I can keep doing it. Like it's still a business, like as much fun as it is, and I'd love to say it's a hobby, at the end of the day it's still a business that I want to be very successful. So I think just trying to navigate all of that, and then while working a full-time job to obviously support myself and support the brand, you know, I'm doing 9 till 5 and then I'm doing this 5 till 9, you know, and I'm up at 4 at the gym. So like I'm up from 4 and I try to be in bed by 7 because I'm up so early. But it's a full-time thing. And I'm, you know, trying to create reels while I'm in the toilet at work. Like I'm on my half-hour lunch break. Like I'm constantly on. And that is exhausting. And that is something that I did not facilitate or think was going to be such a huge thing. Just constantly having to do things, especially when you don't want to do it. Like the last thing I want to do sometimes on the weekend is like get up and go to the gym and film content and put makeup on and do, you know, like sometimes I'm like, man, I'm tired. But you have to do it because if I don't produce fresh content every week,
nothing's going to move.
Nothing's going to move. And who am I inspiring that week if I just sit there and post one picture up? You know what I mean? Like,
no, absolutely.
Yeah, especially because I'm not doing like a lot of, say, like paid marketing or what I'd call advertising. I'm literally just using real, like honest and like true content because that's what's created by the people that do the workouts and everything like that. That's consistency. And that's like whether I film myself when I'm working out at 5 a.m, whether I'm going to the late night sessions that all the guys do and filming them after work all day. Like it's got to be done.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and right now, as you say, like it's yourself trying to put it all together, building it through. If you're not doing it, no one else is.
Exactly.
And often, you know, business owners also find as you scale, no one who you end up hiring is going to work as hard on the business as you are.
No.
Right? And you shouldn't expect that either because it is your business.
And you're also everything. You're the marketer, you're customer service, you're picker-packer.
Yep.
Like, you are the everything person. And, like, bless, my fiancé is so helpful and supportive. So, like, love him so much for that. But there's also only so much that he can do because at the end of the day, I also do everything else.
Yep.
And I want it done my way. And I have a vision and everything like that. So, yeah, it's very exhausting and it's very mind consuming constantly because I'm constantly trying to think of like, what else could I do to show the brand, or how else could I connect to other people, or how do I make someone buy this and then their friend circle wants it, because word of mouth is absolutely priceless as well. And that's where it's come from as well, is someone will see someone in like a world gym and then someone sees them and then they're like, oh cool, that's a cool shirt, I'll buy that.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's
absolutely
that just natural growth for me has been amazing to see. And like every time I see it, I genuinely just want to burst into tears because that's so meaningful to me that someone who doesn't even know me wants to support my brand and wear that.
Yeah.
And that's just organic, which is cool. But that's why I work so hard, because I'm like, all right, maybe they saw my reel. Maybe they saw their friend in that cool reel or video or photo or whatever it was.
And in today's world, you know, it's that one post, that one reel, that one site
thing could just change your whole.
Exactly.
I'm still waiting for one of my TikToks to go viral. So.
Well, look, but it depends on what you optimize for. We had a couple of TikToks that went like bananas, like just heaps and heaps of views. Didn't do squat for us.
Yeah.
Because the way that we look to get support is very different.
Yeah.
But to other businesses, getting something like that once, twice, a few times, now you're in the money. Now it just goes from drop 2 to drop 3 to expansion to growth and everything in between. Let's look at it slightly negatively and I want to see how you think it through. Have you thought about a concept where, okay, if this doesn't happen or if this reaches this point, that's it. That's where we pull it. Because anyone going into business, there's going to be a reality where, look, a lot of times people will put everything on the line. We'll remortgage houses and let's go for it. And then everything doesn't work. And that can happen. Have you set yourself, talking with your partner maybe, of, okay, look, we'll do this. And if it doesn't work to this point, I'll recognize that and leave it. Do you have a separate maybe mindset where it's burn all the boats? We're doing this no matter what, and we're going to get this done. Where does that sit with you? And then to look at it positively, what are your actual aspirations with the brand?
Yeah. So, I mean, naturally, I'm like an all or nothing kind of girl.
Yep.
So I'm just like, it's gonna work. Like, and I'm stubborn as hell. So I'm just like, it has to. Like, it absolutely has to. But then also on the other side of that bridge, we're in a house, we have a mortgage, we also have to be sensible. So I went into it, and same as my partner, we, saved a bunch of money for it. And then each time, say like for the first collection, that made a certain amount of money. So I'm like, okay, we can smartly invest that into the next collection. And then using some savings for that, we can also top that up. So we have these conversations where it's like, okay, this is what we can afford to do without being on the bones of our ass. Because at the end of the day, money keeps coming in every week. We make our wages. So that's why, our full-time jobs are sustaining us and the brand, while also obviously trying to make sales. But yeah, we have these realistic conversations because I'm so driven and I have this dream and I want it to work. But also you do have to think realistically, because if it doesn't, what are we doing? What does that look like for us? Like, when do you pull that? Like, when does a dream just become something that you're chasing and it's no longer working? Because financially, we all have things to worry about. I would love to be in a situation where I wouldn't have to care and just be like, oh, I've just got all this money to just pour into the business, and if it works, it works, and if it doesn't, it's a hobby. You know, like that's just idealistic thinking. And I'm also like, I still have my, you know, like my brain on and things like that. Like I've got to be realistic here. So yeah, we definitely have had those chats, and I think it's important to as well, because, and that's not trying to be negative, absolutely. And that's not trying to crush your dreams, but you know, I can sit here and be like, it will work and it will be successful. But also, what does it look like if it's not?
Yeah, no, that's a great point. You got to be realistic. Look, and one of the reasons we call the podcast Mere Mortals, right, is because I really enjoyed listening to podcasts, but I recognize that a lot of podcasts talk with people who are either at the pinnacle or have already made it.
They're already so successful, and then they're telling you how to do the things.
And look,
like,
I'm never really sitting here with people who, you know, or not all of them, you know, like multimillionaires, and well, I'll just do this for fun, and if it works,
I've got nothing else to do. Let's just blow a couple K.
This is like, hey, let's do something that we care about, and being realistic about it. If it doesn't work, then we recognize that. Because I definitely don't want also to see people, say my little girl or other people, to go into business. I want them to learn about it. But then be realistic. If something isn't going to work and you recognize that it doesn't, how many times do you hear people talk about, hey, I did 16 businesses and it was the 17th that actually did it?
Always.
Right? So, but of course, with New Chapter, the label, there's a very strong reasoning why you're doing it. What's your aspirations with it? You know, if you were to look ahead, Emilee's looking, you know, over an empire in 2 or 3 years' times. What does that look like?
Right,
what does that look like?
Honestly, I want the brand. I want to grow out the collections. I want to do everything. Like I want to do girls' gym wear. I want to have the guys' t-shirts, singlets, tracksuits, everything. Like I want to grow the whole entire brand. I want it to be able to reach everybody. So even say, like I said, how I started it out thinking it was going to be streetwear. Like I still want it to be able to be worn by everyone. I'm not saying, oh, it's just a gym brand. Do you know what I mean? Like it's being picked up by the gym community, so I'm honing in on that. But I want to expand it completely. I want this to become my full-time job. I want this to become my lifestyle. Like I want to be able to dedicate myself into making products for people that they love, and that's my just whole entire job. And on the side of that, I enjoy the shit out of making content. Like I love taking all the videos of people. I love watching the boys at the gym push themselves so hard, and I love filming that and capturing those moments. So to me, it's kind of this big like web of everything that I just really love doing. And if I could turn all of that passion into my full-time job, that would just be amazing. And it would mean so much to me. Like I said to you, seeing people wear the shirts with the meaning behind them. And I had this girl and it just means so much to me, and I'll probably get upset talking about it, but this girl at the gym that I didn't know, she bought all of the t-shirts and all of the colors. So spent like didn't even know me, right? Because she was literally just talking about starting a new chapter and getting into the gym. And then she saw the shirts and that resonated with her. And just like goosebumps just got on my body. And she approached me at the gym and she told me this. And like I just choked up so hard, because I was just like, if I could do something like that for a complete stranger, how meaningful is that? Like that someone saw something that I created to pull myself out of a hole and to give myself purpose and meaning. And then that's given them. What if I could do that always? What if I could expand on that? What if I could do more? Like ultimately, I'd love to be able to make enough money where I can donate sales to mental health charities, to Are You OK Day, to all of the things that actually matter, and things that I probably wish that I had more support on when I was going through all my mental health struggles. So for me, I always want to be able to give back and help support where I struggled. And I think if I could do that and grow my business and scale it to that type of point, I would just feel so accomplished. And I'd feel so good about myself, because I want to be able to help people. Like I'm creating a brand to help people. Whether you think it's just a t-shirt or not, to me it's so much more than that. It's a brand and it's a community. And that's what I want to create. Yeah.
No, that's awesome. There's nothing more I can say beyond that from what you've said there. For people who want to check out New Chapter of the Label, where would you say to people, where's the best place to go check it out? Where do you direct people to?
Well, the website, because that's where you can buy them. But if you want to see the vibe and get the feel of the brand, I'd say go to the Instagram page. Okay, and that's New Chapter, the label, fully spelled out? Yeah, fully spelled out.
Yep. You're also, I think it's on TikTok as well, right? The
if you want to see me be a bit of an idiot, TikTok is a good place to go.
And you're currently the sole creator. You create like basically all the content right now that you see up on there.
100%.
Which is amazing. It's awesome. Honestly, I'm a terrible content creator. We call it out, like we create content. Yeah. We are no good at creating like reels and small things. Yeah. And I applaud the people that do. I've seen the reels. They're awesome. I've seen the reels and the TikToks. awesome. I love that content. That's the sort of content that I go on Instagram, I click on Reels, and I see that. Not just from New Chapter the Label, I see it from all over. And it motivates me. I'm like, oh yeah, this is cool.
Yeah.
I want to get. I got the same feels when I was looking at those Reels. I went, this is awesome. So, at the very least, folks, go and check out the actual Reels to get that, as you say, the vibe from it, the culture of what you're seeing there. And of course, if you want to go and buy and support Emilee, there's New Chapter the Label. Go and have the website. And probably when this comes out, the second drop will be there as well. So there'll be more options there. Have you already got in your mind third drop as well in terms of what would come through?
I'm like fifth
your
drop.
many drops alone.
I'm there. I'm like, the second drop's going to sell out quick. We're going to just go in.
Yep.
Like, yeah, it's already all there.
It's good. All right, Emilee, appreciate it. Thanks so much for chatting with us today.
Thanks so much for having me.